Shut up and sit down.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Shik Shak Shook One's podcast, the podcast that is reviving authentic and brave journalism, music journalism, specifically in the MENA region, Swana region, however you label it. My name is Deana Soni and I am one of your dynamic duo hosts, Danny. Hello.
Hello. What's up, everybody? Danny is here. We're ready to go. We got a special episode today.
Why is it special?
Because we are joined by a very special guest, Alya Fetyani. Alya is a music industry expert. She's done everything under the sun at Spotify. She's worked on Discover Weekly, on Fresh Finds, a lot of your favorite playlists. Basically, once you open the app and once you close the app, Alya's worked on it, everything in between. She also led the Arabs at Spotify cohort, which is really cool. So let's give a warm Shik Shak Shook One's welcome to Alya. What's up, Alya?
Hi, guys. How's it going?
Good. We're really excited to have you. We actually feel really lucky to have you as well because the topic of the podcast today, we couldn't have found a better guest if we tried.
Talking about the list and the rankings and the drama that comes with it. And it's a lot of fun.
Before we get into that, of course, Danny and you know each other. I have just met you. And I have a few questions to ask you because I feel like these 3 questions will tell me everything I need to know about you.
On the spot.
So on the spot, yeah.
This is a judge-free zone, although I might low-key judge you. It's your question. If you are a wrestler or boxer, MMA fighter, whatever kind of fighter there is out there, what would your entrance song be?
This is such a any question where I have to narrow down music is very, very difficult for me. I did have like 5 minutes to think about this, and of course it was terrible. So I want to go either Taj by Abusive if I'm going Arabic, or maybe DNA by Kendrick Lamar if I'm going English.
Oh, okay, like that. What
Danny likes?
Danny, I saw Danny the Drake Kendrick beef flare up again there.
No. I'm not bringing that up ever again. We're done.
Okay, next one is, what's one song that I couldn't pay you to listen to? I'm talking millions.
Oh, God. There is not anything that you couldn't pay me millions to do.
Yes, there is.
I mean,
yes, there
maybe.
is.
When it comes to music, listen, I know that it's very subjective and I know that my head is probably going to get wrung for this one, but I'm going to say I'm really not a Swiftie. I'm just, her music doesn't resonate with me. And so I would never voluntarily listen to anything from Taylor Swift. Not anything against her artistry or people who really love her.
Can I just say, I'm super surprised that you didn't say Arabi by Muhammad Ramadan, Future, and Masari. I thought that one for sure was going to be your answer.
I will never throw anything that even is remotely Arabic under the bus. I will take the little wins that we can. But yeah, that's not the best song either. But if I have to choose.
If you're listening to this podcast right now, Alya may not throw it under the bus, but I definitely did on the first episode of this podcast. So check it out.
Danny had me a reaction video. He made me watch the music video and he watched my reaction to it. So he already knows how I feel about it.
Oh, he made you watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, Danny, you were more passionate than I thought you were about this song.
No, in the moment I was very passionate. After a few months, I've come to terms.
Alya, that was the sweetest, kindest response I've ever heard. Whenever I ask someone like a song they hate, they're like going crazy. But that was just the sweetest answer ever.
Look, I can't ever put the word hate in front of music. It's too subjective, and I'm going to be that neutral person. I listen to a lot. I work in the industry. I think a lot of artists really have earned their spots. It's just about personal taste and genre and lyrics for me. But yeah, man, anything that comes out of the MENA region from my people, whatever they have to do to work on their craft, I am here to support it.
Okay, sorry, let me get over the cue now. My question is, what's one song that every single person in the world should hear?
So this is, again, really hard because I think that music really evokes a ton of different emotion just for people for different reasons. I am going to go with Never Too Much by Luther Vandross just because I don't know a single person who does not feel better after listening to that song. So I feel like it's neutral, and maybe that's a bit of a cop-out, but I really do love it as a song and a piece of art.
Solid choice. I love that song. It's on
That's
my
a great choice.
It's on my Get Up and Get Started playlist.
You can't not want to dance at least a little bit. You could be in tears, but you're like, man, that Luther.
So today's the episode I've been waiting for ever since Danny and I basically had a chance to draft what we're going to talk about. I'm going to let Danny take over, but I just want to say I was very proud of Danny when he called me and said to me, hey, Rolling Stones have commissioned my idea about writing 50 of the best Arabic pop songs of the 21st century. He was kind of freaking out because I think he knew it was such a huge responsibility. And just in case you don't know, Rolling Stone is an American monthly magazine that focuses on music, popular culture, and politics. So it was a pretty big deal. Danny, tell us more about it.
No, it was it was a cool opportunity. I've been in touch with them for about 7 months up until they finally accepted my many emails and bullying to basically let me do this. And it was cool. I mean, I don't want to take all the credit here. The only credit that I would want is just for writing all the blurbs for all the songs and everything. But otherwise, it was a committee of about 15 people with both Alya and Deana included, that deliberated, that really thought through a lot of different songs, different contenders, different potential artists that should be part of this ranking. It was a ranking of the 50 best Arabic pop songs of the 21st century. So a lot of questions went into that. One, when did the 21st century start? You'd be surprised at how many people don't know. It is January 1st, 2000. Okay.
Talking about me, by the way.
No. I promise.
It's okay. It's hard. It's confusing.
Secondly was, what is pop music? Is it just defined by the pop genre itself? Is it does it include songs of other genres that were just so massive that broke through the popular consciousness of music and Arabic music in general? There was a lot of different questions and a lot of different things to consider. And Alya and Deana were two of the people that helped just manage my anxiety throughout the entire process, with multiple phone calls, multiple WhatsApp messages, multiple voice notes, multiple spreadsheets of different songs and different rankings, that happening every 10 minutes for 2 weeks. And it was a cool thing. We'll drop the link in the show notes and everything so folks can take a look at it. And there are playlists on both Spotify and Rami, so we'll drop those as well. But overall, y'all, like, what a process. I mean, what did you all think when you first found out that you're going to be part of this committee to come up with such a ranking?
Well, I want to start off by saying, I love that you're saying Danny called you and he walked you through what it was. I went through my text messages and it was all caps, Alya, I need to call you right now. Are you sitting down? So I definitely understand the excitement there, but it is no easy feat to be able to put together a list and then also have to rank it, and only 50 tracks. I mean, kudos to you. I was feeling the anxiety on my side because I was thinking of every possible thing that someone could say when the list came out. But, I think there's a really solid collection of music there. Nobody's saying that it's the best and that's it, and there are no other great ones, but the impact that these artists and their music have had on the region really is huge. And I think that, no matter what order you put it in, really it doesn't change the fact that the music has traveled the world and it's in Rolling Stone now, and you can't deny the excellence.
I was just shocked that he asked me. I was like, not shocked as in like, why me? More like, I know this guy's got this. I think for me, it was like, I don't want to be involved in the hardest part, which is narrowing the 50. I want to be involved in not this one, not that one. Did you get this one? Because, oh my God, even as he made the joke about the 21st century, I was recommending songs I absolutely love that were like 1990s, like Deana, 21st century. I was like, sorry. It was just crazy. Like everything comes into your mind at once and it's excitement, but it's also like, whoa, we need to get this right because people are going to be upset. Some people will be really happy and some people will be celebrating, but there's also that risk of, hey, why wasn't I included? Why has my contribution not been put into this magazine?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is no matter how this ranking would have shaped up, somebody would have been upset. Even if this was the most scientifically put together ranking or anything, music evokes feeling and it evokes a lot of subjectivity. It's very personal. So no matter what, someone's going to get upset. But what was important for me was to make sure that part of this committee was a diverse group of people. And what I mean by that is there were folks, music industry folks. There were other music journalists. There were music historians, music academics, producers, some current artists, and they spanned our region. There were a few folks from North Africa, a few folks from the Levant, a few folks from the Gulf. We really wanted to make sure that everybody was represented in some way, to really show the diversity of our music and just how cool our music is and the wide ranging sounds and rhythms and dialects. Because we could all sit here and say, Amr Diab deserves 10 songs or Nancy Ajram deserves like 10, 15 songs, whatever. But I know Alya has a lot of feelings about Nancy Ajram not being number one. But that's not the point of this ranking, right? Like at that end, the ranking doesn't make any sense and it's not helpful. No one learns from that. So that was an interesting conversation I think we had initially, was can an artist repeat in the ranking? And ultimately, I think we decided no, simply because it would mean that other artists who also had a major impact with specific songs would then be excluded. But I don't know how y'all felt in general about that process, or if there is anything in that ranking where you're like, man, I still can't believe this came out the way that it did.
Go on,
I know
Alya.
I know you're looking at me for that answer because I feel very strongly about Nancy Ajram's Ya Tabtab. I absolutely love Tamalli Ma'ak. Don't get me wrong, that has nothing to do with it. But I was telling Danny that I have met people in my life I have a friend who is from India and she doesn't speak Arabic at all, but she knew all of the words to that song. My best friend's sister, she only speaks Spanish, but she knows every word to that song. So in terms of just how it impacts or how it resonates with so many people around the world, regardless of what language they speak, that to me was huge. Granted, I understand that Tamalli Ma'ak was translated a bunch, and maybe we'll get into that. So I do understand the impact there. But like Danny said, the ranking is the ranking. It doesn't mean that really there is, it's not subjective and that people don't feel certain ways about music. It really is about the artists too and just how much impact they have. So as long as that's my only beef with it, I'm cool. The rest of the list looks amazing. It's great. I love it.
Do you know what would be really good, Danny? If you explain how you narrowed it down, like what did you end up deciding classes an Arabic song? And what did you decide? So you've already mentioned about one artist, one slot, but what else did you narrow it down to?
Yeah, so the criteria for this came down to a few different factors. One was just strictly data. So song streams or sales if the songs came out before sort of the streaming era. We took a look at that. Obviously, that's a big part of impact on a song. Secondly, we looked at cultural impact. Was there a song that came out that just was so massive and got so many different people talking? Did it cause some kind of massive faux controversy, in my opinion? Is it something that's still discussed to this day? And thirdly, part of it was frankly subjective. I mean, I think between the 15 of us on this committee, we all at some point looked at songs and said, well, I feel like this one is technically better, or I feel like this one lyrically is better, I feel like this one production wise is better. And so part of it was a little bit subjective. The way we narrowed down what constituted an Arabic song was that the song needed to be at least 50% in Arabic. So that immediately helped narrow down things that were in multiple languages, like Arabic, French, and English, or Arabic, Spanish, English, Italian, whatever, all in one song. And it helped narrow down Arab artists who don't perform in Arabic, which that also was a major conversation, I think, amongst all of us, of somebody like Soul King, who is massive in Europe, massive Algerian artist, but performs primarily in French. Or the joke that I like to make is Shakira, who is Lebanese, and would have immediately been the top 10, like had the top 10 would have been all Shakira, in my opinion.
100%.
You remember whenever he went, sorry to interrupt you, do you remember whenever we went into Meltdown when she performed at the Super Bowl and did as a Haruta, and everyone was like, oh my god, it's a Haruta at the Super Bowl, and then everyone was like, wait, she's Lebanese? So I was like, all right guys, relax.
Are you kidding me? That memory is etched in my brain forever.
But yeah, I remember you talking about that with me. That was a moment. That was a moment.
It was fun. It was great. But those are the things that we had to consider, because we really wanted to make sure that primarily when we talked about Arabic pop, regardless of how you feel about the genre or whatever, that it was in Arabic. And on that list, if my memory serves me, there's only one song that even had a little bit of another language. And it was the number 3 song, C'est la vie, by Cheb Khaled. And that song made it on there because it is so huge. It is so massive. And only the chorus of that song is in French. Everything else is in Arabic. So I felt very comfortable making sure that that was included. That was a song that after the ranking got published, a lot of people had a lot of opinions on being on there. It was a combination of things. They were like, why is a French song on here? People got very upset about that. Then other people were like, I don't think that's Cheb Khaled's best song. And it's probably not. I don't think it's his best song. But in the 21st century, you can't deny how massive of an impact that song has had and still has, to the point where Mark Anthony then creates a Spanish language version that then the rest of the world pretty much also knows. So I'm sorry, that had to be number 3. For me, C'est la vie, Ya Tabta by Nancy Ajram, and Temelli Ma'ak could have easily been interchangeable. At that point, it was just a gut feeling of what was 1, 2, and 3. But the top 3, to me, that was solidified from the jump.
Alya, is there anything that's not on the list that you really wanted to have on the list?
See, I'm like you, and like what can fit into this list in the time period that you're giving me. I mean, there's a lot of songs by artists that I love. I'm Saudi. I grew up with Abdelmajid Abdullah. The majority of the songs that I know from him are from the early 90s, and I would get really excited and message Danny and be like, damn, that doesn't work in the time period. So I think that, for what we've put together, it would have been really hard to include anything else just because of the 50 track limit. But I would have put so many more songs in there that just resonate with me personally for different reasons. So I try to look at it like that, like I have to go based on the data and what the streamings are, and I can't have a track all of a sudden have millions more streams just to make it onto the list. But I could have added a million more tracks. I really don't know how we narrowed it down.
Yeah. I
don't know how.
It was quick, in my opinion.
It was a 2-week deadline. We had to move fast.
I think like a few days later, you were like, here's the login for the spreadsheet. I was like, spreadsheet? It's like, what? No.
Y'all.
Crazy.
We started with 350 contenders. Just what was anything that was remotely popular, let's put it in there. And then narrowed that down to about 75 over the course of 24 hours. And then narrowed that down to 50. So, and that initial 50 was not what ended up being the final 50, mind you, because there were artists that were initially on there that then we deliberated and said, you know what, they're not there yet. Shout out to Eliana. You're not there yet in terms of an impact of someone like an Amr Diab or a Nancy Ajram or a Najwa Karam or Abdul Majid Abdullah.
Yeah.
But I suspect that if we make this list again in 10 years, she'd be on there.
Yeah.
There's no question. So it was things like that that we had to sit there and really, really think through.
Honestly, like really the whole committee, yourself, I think we did quite a good job. As you said, we were never going to get it perfectly. I think also you mentioned that diaspora artists might have felt a little bit excluded just because of the criteria of the list. There was also different things that we decided. Like I remember in Say, we were debating that for a while.
Well, we were debating Saad al-Mujarrad in general for a while.
Exactly. My friend,
Because
sorry, my friend was like, how can you not have Insay? Like that's played in like every UK restaurant, in the club, like literally always played. And I was like, sis, Sadlam Jared is it's not a good man.
yeah, and the two contenders from him would have been Insay and Al-Muallim, and Al-Muallim has over 1 billion stream. I mean, if it were to have made the list, it would have been far and away the most viewed song on YouTube. It wasn't even close. And we debated him for a while and had got into a very ethical conversation about art and the artist and everything. And at the end of the day, I think we felt like we did not want to platform such a human being who is been accused and convicted of sexual assault in 3 different countries. So we decided to leave him off. And I have to be honest with both of you. I am pleasantly surprised that of the backlash that this ranking did get, that was not one of them. His name did not really come up. It was other really just intense fan bases and Egyptian art critics. Shout out to them. I love them. They're my fans. They're great.
I think let's talk about that then, Danny. Who are you talking about? Which artists, fan groups came for you?
Oh man, Nawala Zuhbi, man, her fan base is very intense. They really love her, but I don't even know what to say, y'all. Her song Layali came in at number 17, which I thought was a fair assessment. It's a good song and everything, but I wouldn't have necessarily put it top 10 when you think of all the other songs that came ahead of it in the ranking. It was hard to kind of put that up against that one. But her fan base was rabid. I mean, they came for me, y'all. Like, some of them tried to dox me. One person said that I was paid off by Nancy Ajram's team to put Noel Zuhbi so low behind Nancy Ajram. They were just upset that Nancy was number 2 and Noel wasn't. One person tweeted, "How could you not put Ilayali higher? It was a Buddha Bar classic." And that really, to me, was like, oh my gosh, you're so right. I didn't factor in Buddha Bar classics when we made this ranking. It was fascinating, y'all. It was absolutely insane.
I was very invested. I was online. I was following the drama. I was reading it. I was translating it. I mean, to be fair, I've never known someone who's been involved in something so controversial. So to me, it was like the best thing I could have spent my morning doing. But they really came for you. They do not mess around with their support. Yeah.
Nah, y'all think Swifties are intense? Y'all have not met Zohbis, if that's what we're gonna call them.
Any other backlash that surprised you, Danny?
That surprised me, no. I mean, some very older Egyptian composers and art critics went on television and said with their whole chest that Maharaganat artists should not be on the list, which I'm not surprised by that. I mean, I'm not at all surprised. They were kind of upset that more technical songs were not part of the ranking. And in my head, even if a song is technically, production-wise, lyrically a little bit better, the idea is a pop song. Like, did it hit? Did it have an impact? And it's hard to say that a song like Bint Jiran by Hassan Shakush didn't have an impact. I mean, that song was everywhere. It was everywhere outside of Egypt, which is huge for Maharaganat as a genre. So yeah, like that didn't surprise me. I did get some feedback from a couple of managers of artists who were upset that their artists weren't part of the list, and uh, that's to be expected. I'm not entirely upset about that. Most managers understood, and they were just kind of giving me a hard time. There were a couple that were actually really upset, and I don't know. I guess I just need them to touch grass. Like, I don't really know what else I can tell them. So
What does
it's
that
fine. Touch grass.
Yeah.
Go outside. Get offline. Go outside. Go enjoy the day.
Oh,
Get
There's
on
a whole
enough
world out
internet.
there. There's a whole world out there. Is
It's
that a U.S.?
American
Is
thing.
that an American thing? I thought
It's like
y'all
go
might
for
say
a
that too.
walk. It's like go get some fresh air, like sleep on it, something like that.
That's the thing again that I want to emphasize is this is the last 21st century. This is 24 years worth of music and songs and everything. It is going to be hard to narrow down anything just to 50 songs. The point of it is to try to really separate some of the ones that we felt like were just too big to ignore, that had a wide regional impact. What surprised me, to be honest with y'all, was that there were a lot of folks who did not know some of the North African songs that made it onto the list, even though if you look at their streaming and their data alone, I mean, there was one song, Decapotable by Zuhair Bahawi, that had 350 plus million views on YouTube. And a lot of people had no idea who he was or what that song was. That's the kind of thing that I hope that this ranking just breaks down our own silos of listening. Because dang, it was wild to see that.
I think that's part of like a broader conversation as well, because a lot of North Africans in Britain, a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of my friends, don't class themselves as Arabs. And so I think also, like, when you're listening to Arabic music, depending on where you are in the world, you kind of have tunnel vision. So I'm really glad that you did include. You also included Zina, which is in Arabic, but
Love that
Algerian
song.
artist, right?
Yeah, Babylon. Yeah. Yeah, we had Iman Sharif, a Sudanese artist. That was the only positive feedback. Like,
Oh my God, that might be
hands
my
down.
favorite. The video of her celebrating that she made it on the list. I mean, I have watched that a million times. Definitely if you haven't watched it, it's on her Instagram, but it's so good.
It was so adorable. Like, her family made a cake with her, like a photo of her ranking on the cake and everything, and her song, and
Balloons.
it was really cool. And that was important, I think, to me in particular, was to make sure that Sudan was part of it, because so often Sudan is overlooked, underappreciated, and that song had a huge impact on music in general. So I'm glad that we got a chance to include it.
Yeah. And I think what's amazing about this list is that it started a conversation. It really made people think like, oh, who's this artist? So not only are you introducing people to new artists, but it's like, oh, what's going on the other side of the world? And also I think it made us open our eyes to there's so much going on more than just the diaspora. Because I think that's as well, the modern thing is a lot of people that I speak to think of like Arabic music as this whole new modern thing. And it's like embracing different identities, different languages. And it's like, yeah, but the region is popping.
Take a step back. We've not had a list like this before, and now it's in Rolling Stone. I think people maybe also are not familiar with how huge that publication is and the impact. I mean, it's been around for 100 or so years, bit more. I mean, it is incredible to be represented. So I think that when you really kind of take a bird's eye view of it, that is the thing that is the most important, is that we are finally able to put our artists on the map in front of the world, not just on a local publication, not just conversations that we're having amongst ourselves, but really just, showing it to the world.
But honestly, too, we did it in a way where we weren't just like clapping hands for everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, ranking something means there is some sort of criticism involved in terms of thinking through what we thought was a quote unquote better song than another song. So I'm glad that we started to do that too, because we're at a point now where we have to have those conversations. We can't just support every little thing just because it's in Arabic or because someone says Habibi. which I swear that needs to end.
And this Alya, who's never going to bring down our people.
I will never.
Listen, Alya's still in the industry. She's still got relationships to maintain. I get her answer. It's fine. When we get her off the pot, she'll tell you how she really feels.
Danny knows. Danny and I have spilled some tea, but I know that is confidential. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I definitely agree with. Like we've gotten on the map. Now how are we making sure that we're really maintaining the quality of our content and our artists are out there, representing us in the best way and not doing controversial things that are gonna get them kicked off of lists and stuff like that. I do want to say though, for me, the thing that surprised me the most from that list is how little people actually read the intro. Because I feel like that is where the most hate came from. And, a lot of people are guilty of, they looked at the list and they're like, how is Kulthum not on here? And I'm like, have you read the description of the list? Like, nobody is saying she doesn't deserve to be on there, but, like, let's think about this for a second. The time and thought was gone into that intro, too.
A lot of time and thought had gone into that intro because up until maybe 10, 15 years ago, I think we can all agree that Egypt and Lebanon dominated Arabic pop music, and it almost wasn't even close. The market was set up that way for artists from those two countries to succeed. And on top of that, for the most part, everybody was performing in an Egyptian dialect, given Egypt's historical place as the hub of art and culture in our region for the longest time. Really was not until 10, 15 years ago where that started to break down a little bit. You had people performing more in, or not, I shouldn't say performing more. You had artists who had been performing in other dialects breaking through regionally more and more. It wasn't a one-off hit like Rasht al-Majid's Mashkanli, right? Like that was 2004. That to me, growing up as a little Lebanese kid, was the first time I'd ever heard a Khaliji song, period. But now we're at a point where that happens so regularly because of how broken down those barriers are, which is really interesting. So yeah, we had to put that context in place in the intro and explain to people. But yeah, no one read it. No one read it.
People just went, top 10? No.
And honestly, like, I want people to agree and disagree. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want people to disagree, but I want people to disagree thoughtfully. That's all. Like, engage thoughtfully with this. Like, don't come at me and be like, how come Noor al-Ain is not number one? Because Noor al-Ain came out in 1996, okay? It is not the 21st century. That is the 20th century. That was the biggest feedback I got from people being like, I would have put Noor al-Ain. I'm like, yeah, me too, if it came out in 2000 or 2001.
By this stage, I'd had this answer from Danny so many times because I was going to say this and then I quickly pulled the track. I was like, Deana, shut the F up, okay? It's true. You get so caught up because also you think, oh my God, this song is like my childhood, or oh my God, this song makes my family get up and dance. And you do kind of forget, yeah, let's look at the years. So, and I think it is an emotional connection for some as well, especially for people that have lived somewhere where they don't feel seen. So seeing a list like this in Rolling Stone, as you guys said, it's almost an emotional response as opposed to let's look at it, read what's going on and actually work out how this committee got to this list.
That was the other big part of it too. Songs that are nostalgic are going to weigh heavier on us personally than newer songs that haven't yet had the opportunity to have that same impact. Obviously, older songs that we associate with memories and things like that, they've had a longer time to have an impact on a community or a people or a region. But one of the people on the committee, a producer, his name is Slayman Damien, so shout out to him. He was very adamant in saying you need to include newer artists, you need to include new songs, because they need to know that what they're doing is also valid, and that what they're that Arabic pop music or popular Arabic music didn't just happen between 2000 and 2006. It kept going. Otherwise, what's the point of the list for people who are looking at it and saying, oh, well, after 2006, there's no point. There was no Arab pop ever made and it wasn't worthy. So it was important to have, Ortega on there. It was important to have Wigs on there. It was important to have Grande Toto on there. People like them who, even if they're not pop necessarily, they made music that just broke through in such a massive, popular way that it was hard to ignore. So I'm glad that we had I feel like we had a pretty good balance of that.
Question, guys. Rankings, helpful or hurtful?
Alia's going to say something like, as long as everyone feels supported and the
No,
artists are all good.
Profound and
Listen,
beautiful.
no. I'm going to come from a little bit more of a technical, when it comes to the technical side of this, because, you know, it wasn't just a list that we put together. There was a lot of research and data that went into things. And there's a lot of, cross-referencing YouTube views with Spotify streams, with Anagami streams, with all of that actual data. I think that it's really hard to rank music if you're going based off of data from a region where all of the tools that are helping you get this data are built in the US or in Europe, and the MENA region is brand new for them. So the data is not, maybe there's a lot of like tangling that is happening. I was online yesterday trying to look at streaming numbers on a site called Chartmetric for Nancy and for Amr, and there was like 10 different pages just for each one of their tracks. So gathering that data and making sure that the numbers are all there when we're looking at that to make the ranking, that's really difficult. Music in the region is not new. It's been around forever. It's just the services are new in the region. Spotify has only even been in the US since 2015. So we really had to take that into account when it comes to things like streaming numbers and how that plays into the ranking. But I feel like when it comes to the top 50, maybe to the top 5, actually, let's say, it gets really difficult and then it gets really granular. And now that's where it kind of, to me, it matters, obviously, to be number 1 or number 2, but that's also where a lot of subjectivity comes in, because the numbers sometimes can be so close when you're looking at stream counts and YouTube views and stuff like that.
I love that. And I mean, I would add too that those systems are skewed to benefit newer songs, because those artists and when they're rolling out music already factor that in. Nancy Hajjar, when she created Ya Tab Tab, was not factoring in, oh gee, I wonder how many views on YouTube this is going to get. She factored in physical album sales or pirated CDs, to be honest.
It wasn't so much how does the metadata on the streaming platform match up to direct to me and all of that. So that's where a lot of the mess comes in. Look at how many Arab artists spell their names totally different ways from album to album in English. Like just that system alone. So yeah, what Danny said.
That's so true. When I had my radio show, I used to get so stressed out because I'd look for an artist, and depending on where I'd got the track from, they could be spelled in 6 different ways. So I'm literally sitting there being like, A1? AI? It was hell. So you're so right about that.
Throw in some numbers too when you're Listen, my job for a long time, I was a data curator, and my job was to detangle all of these. Kulthum literally had about 33 different pages that I had to combine just on Spotify alone. So that also, it really does play a huge part of how things are ranked when you're looking at things like charts and stuff like that. There are a lot of companies that are now launching in the Middle East that are working on making sure that we have those rankings weekly or, however it is. But that does really cater to the newer content. I do want to say, though, the fact that, a DSP or a streaming service like Spotify that is not even that old, Nancy can still have hundreds of millions of streams, given how much older the track is than these services too. That is a huge deal. If you're looking at YouTube and when that launched versus when half of these music videos came out, I mean, people are still going back to them. They are still listening to them. They are still trying to, live back those moments. So it really is, when it comes to ranking, when you're looking at things technically, it's extremely difficult and very time consuming to just make sure that all of those numbers line up.
The ranking is out, and Alya is still making her case for Nancy Asham.
I am not. I was telling Danny last night, I was online, and when I noticed that all of these different Nancy pages were on Chartmetric, I was messaging the customer service, like, I know it's 10:30 at night, but she has multiple pages for this song. Can we just combine them so the numbers are accurate? Yeah. That's where I'm really passionate.
I think what's also really exciting about the list is that hopefully there's going to be even more lists, more niche, more region specific, and I really can't wait to see those.
Danny definitely wants to do the 50 worst songs. I can feel that.
What would be number one on that, Danny?
What would be number one, Danny?
That one would be number one. And it's not even close. No, look, I agree. There needs to be more lists. There needs to be more rankings. We need more shocks to the system. Like, I think the system, in terms of just our musical output and everything, has felt a little bit stagnant for a while. And it's time that we have some of these more quote unquote controversial conversations and make people feel a little bit uncomfortable, make people really think about these things in a critical way. It needs to happen. It really needs to happen. So, you know, for me, I'm proud of this ranking. It's exciting to me that like specific songs made it, you know, like Dame Falastine is number 10. That's huge. You can't really put album sales and streams and stuff on a song like that because the impact of that particular song is so beyond anything. It would have been disingenuous for it to have not even been in the top 10, let alone not be on the list. So that to me was incredible. I mean, I have reservations about this list, and I was part of the committee that came up with it. Like, my favorite song was not on this list, even though I will die on the hill of the fact that Tiggy Tiggy by Hakeem and Don Omar.
Oh my God. Okay.
Listen. 2006. This is like peak Don Omar. Like, he's riding the reggaeton wave. Hakeem is like in his prime of collaborating with random artists. You need this. Like, this was a huge thing. I don't know why people hate on that song so much. It's incredible.
How are you going to mention that collaboration and not mention James Brown? Gordon Brown, which one is...
First of all, it was James Brown. How dare you disrespect the godfather of soul, Gordon Brown. I will say...
Leave it.
I will say that in the blurb for Hakeem's entry on this ranking, which was Ahya Elvi, which I think came in at number 19, I did find a way to sneak in that he collaborated with Don Omar on the smash 2006 hit, Diggy Diggy.
You let the power get to you there, didn't you, Danny?
Oh, yeah. The power of the pen is too strong sometimes, man. It gets to my head.
We could literally sit here and talk about these lists forever. I'm sure people would listen to it because I'm sure we haven't even touched on so many different things that people would have been bothered by or interested by. But obviously, it's almost like an hour. So I'm going to ask you a final question, Alya. If you could curate the next list, what would the list look like?
Oh, no.
What would the list be?
Oh, no. The next list, you mean like what would the criteria be?
Yeah.
I am kind of right now I'm really focused on amplifying women within the music industry. That is something that I feel very passionately about. So I would probably do something around that. Really just try to make them have their moment. But in terms of what the criteria would be for that, that's really difficult. Like, making it very specific, that's very hard.
Would it be rap? Would it be pop? Would it be, I don't know, dialects?
I am a love it all. Again, whether I like the genre or not, that's not up for me to decide. The criteria is you got to be a woman, you got to be from the Middle Eastern region. Maybe you're in diaspora, maybe you're singing in English or Arabic or French. So obviously I would have to narrow it down a little bit, but that's kind of where I'm just like, I want all the people that I don't know, the people that I want to amplify to be in one place.
Danny, you?
First of all, Alya stays drama free. I love it.
I love it.
Alya stays drama free. I'm like, let me rank all. I want all the smoke. Give me all the smoke. I don't even care. Like, I want y'all to come for me.
She's very chic, you know? I like it.
I want all the smoke, man. Like, you know why? Because my arguments are airtight. It's good faith criticism. I'm not attacking artists personally with rankings. You know what I'm saying? I would never do that. So that's why I want all the smoke. Anyways, the next thing that I would want to do, that's a tough question, man. I would love to do something on Arab rap, honestly. I would love to do some sort of top 50 Arab rap songs of the 21st century or something along those lines, and like really show the breadth of how far we've come from, you know, Dem and Don Big and Narcy and Omar Effendum to Afroto and Abusif and Stormy and Toto. And I just named all men, so that's horrible. Let me.
Danny and I will have completely opposite lists.
We'll have an all male list because apparently women don't rap. Women don't rap. No, like, but Perry, Chtek, Queen G, like people like that. You know, these newer artists. Blue Pfeiffer, although Blue's gonna hate that I called her a rapper. She's not. She's a multidisciplinary artist, but I hope she understands where I'm coming from.
Nadine Ruby.
Nadine, Faluka, all of them. Like, you know, we got to find room for all of them to be on these lists. So that's what I want to do. That would be my next list for sure.
For me, my first list would be a list about the best Maharaganat tracks, because I think they get a really bad rap in Egypt.
You think?
Either by the musician syndicate, not by the people. And it's crazy how people don't appreciate how successful it is, especially here. Like, when I tell you, my friends are always like, what's this dude saying? And I'll click it and it's like Hammubika. And I'm like, oh, what? Did you find Hammubika, first of all? And even my husband, he's not Arab. And he'll walk into the kitchen and be like, Bint el Quran, da, 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 da. So I feel like I would love to do a list and also just take a look at just how much they've changed the genre, so how it started and where it is and what it means. So that's something I'd love to do.
I love that. I love that so much. Maharaganat is a great genre. Isam Sasa better be on that list.
Of course.
Yeah. Just as long as our lists are not like Apple Music's 100 best albums of all time, and apparently in their minds, music is only made in the West and in English, except for one album by Bad Bunny. Unreal, man. Unreal. That's why I hate like lists like that, where it's like like you both know, we agonized over this list. Truly, anxiety through the roof. And Apple Music comes out here with their whole chest being like, yeah, no, albums are not made outside the West. It's
what
wild
do they know? Yeah. What do they know? They build laptops.
That's the most critical thing Alya has said on this entire podcast.
Oh, flaws. I love it.
I love Danny for sending me so much Arabic music all the time. He really does have his foot on the pedal when it comes to what is coming out of the region. I know that it is a lot for me to ask of him to always be sending me stuff. So what I've started doing is going into all of these lists, these playlists of these Arab artists. Sometimes it's Fresh Finds Arabia or Radar, anything else coming out of the region. And the first thing I do is I look for those artists' socials. And a lot of times they are not on their profiles. So I really want us to be able to keep finding these artists, especially as their names kind of, they have their stage names and it's hard to identify them, or they're singing in different languages. For me, as a person who loves music and wants to continue to support artists from the region, it's really important that I can find them. So if there are artists that are listening to this, please, I beg of you, go onto your Spotify, go onto your Anghami, your Apple, whatever it is, and at least put your Instagram in there, because it is the thing that I will follow you, I will comment, I will share your music, but I need to be able to find you.
Solid. Makes sense.
Alya, where can people find you on social media?
People can find me on Instagram at Alya_AF, ALYA, 3_AF. I also post all of my music stuff and the artists that I get to work with every day on mixtape.media on Instagram. That's my music profile that I have there. I did just download TikTok because I was strong-armed by my manager, but I do not have a single thing on there. I have not opened the app since I downloaded it, so don't even bother there. But then it's the same handle on Spotify. If you want to send me music, create a blend with me, let's go. I want to know what everyone is listening to.
Alya, thank you so much for joining us on Shik Shak Shook Ones. Honestly, love what you're doing for the industry, for artists, and we feel so privileged that we were able to dissect this episode with you, for real.
Thank
Big
you so
love to you,
much.
Alya.
It was such a pleasure, and I'm so happy. I hopefully get to collaborate on more lists from Danny and from, all of our lists that we put out. I would really love that.
You could check out the Rolling Stone list. We'll put a link to that in the show notes, along with a playlist link on Spotify and on Rami. I also want to make sure we give a big shout out to our producer Noor and the team at Afikra for dealing with us and all of our technical difficulties, our ridiculousness, all of my just random jokes and banter and slang and just for dealing with Deana in general. So thank you. I'm just playing, Deana.
Love you guys, and we all know that I'm the breeze and Danny's the problem.
Shout out to Noor. We out.